Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start our Saturday class, the Yog Sutras class, with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Bhavaswaha, Tatsavitra Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Asto ma sadgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityurma amritam gamya. Om sehna vavtu sehna bhunaktu saviryam karvavai. Tejasvi navadhitamastu ma vidvishavahi. Om shanti 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 om. So chapter 1 of Yog Darshan. Samadhi Pad. And in order to attain the Samadhi, Rishi Patanjali says we have to do the Abhyas. Abhyas and Vairagya both. And why do we do Abhyas? And why do we want to have the Vairagya? So that our mind is clean. Mind is in our control. It's a restful mind. So after talking all about that, now he's giving us different techniques to keep the mind calm and pure. We learned about those 4 attitudes he gave it to us when we deal with the people while doing our duties. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha, those 4. After that, he told us, do this special pranayam every day. Chadaran Vidharnabhyam pranayam. And we in detail talked about that pranayam also, which has 4 steps. So I'm sure you all are doing it, or at least doing the first part of it for some time, and then the second step, then third step, then 4th step. Okay. Then last week where we ended our class, that was verse number 35. He said, when a sensory experience manifests directly from inside, it leads the mind to a state of concentration. And sensory experiences, all of a sudden, you smell some fragrance, which is out of this world. There is no flower there, but you sense it. Or any kind of a sight, or any kind of a sound, which is out of this world. So he says, mind will come to the state of concentration. This becomes an effortless concentration. And this is a gift of a sensory experience arising from inner realms. So during our meditations, sometimes we feel that. So that is a blessing. That's a grace. Remember that. Now let's start today's class with verse number 36. He's giving us another way to calm and clean this mind. Vishoka va jyotishmati. Vishoka, that which is devoid of worry and grief. See, shok means worry or grief. Vi over here means devoid of. Va means and or. So that means this could be another technique. Jyotishmati, that which is filled by light, or that which is accompanied by light. So when a state of worrylessness and effulgence manifests directly from inside, it leads the mind to a state of concentration. Mind is always looking for something which is beautiful. It gets attracted to it. When we just let our mind see something inside us, it concentrates on it. So it is like an experience of the inner light shining in the cave of our heart. This is actually a gift of non-attachment. Non-attachment with the outer objects, outer things, outer people. There's something within you. And from that experience, perfect stability of mind arises. Remember, the goal is to stable this mind. But unless the mind is clean, it cannot be stable. The yogi's mind is in yogi's hands. See, on the surface, this sutra is telling us that by practicing concentration on something that is either devoid of worry or full of illumination, a person can attain concentration of mind. So this is one way to read this sutra. But the question is, how can a person reach the point in the inward journey which is free from all the worries or strife? How can a person acquire an object of meditation which by its intrinsic virtue is never stained by worry or grief? The answer is simple. We all know the sources of the practice given in the Vedas. We all know Vedas have a vast literature. The process of acquiring a disturbed, distracted, or stupefied mind begins with carelessness. So when we are not careless, when we don't dissipate our energies, when we do the sadhana properly, the Vedic literature says, yeah, you have that light, you are that light. Go within. Otherwise, if we are trying to find that in the outer world, we can never find it. And what happens? Anger arises. Anger is a direct outcome of our desires and aversions. Anger also controls our, not only the senses, but our mind also. Angry person will say the wrong words, behave differently. That's why anger clouds our understanding, damages our memory. Ultimately, we lose our point of discrimination. So we don't want to be careless. As a yoga students, yoga practitioners, we have to be alert all the time. Not only during meditation, rest of the time too. For most people, the way to reclaim a pristine state of mind is to free themselves from attachments and aversions. Rag and dvesh. Rag and dvesh. We don't have to run away from this world, and we don't have to run towards this world. That is away from rag and dvesh. It is only after we learn to conduct our thoughts, speech, and actions in a balanced manner, and we enjoy the objects of our senses as a matter of chance, we can reclaim our joyful mind. So the prerequisite to achieving the object of meditation, which Rishi Patanjali is talking about, we have to learn how to transcend the forms of sorrow. And that's why he said first to free oneself from all the worries, vishoka. Because if mind is full of worry, we really cannot see this light. Vishoka. You can only be a friend to someone who is similar to you. A joyous object of meditation is not available to a sorrowful mind. That's why I have seen certain yoga teachers, when they teach yoga, They say, first thing you do is bring a smile on your face. Or in the morning when you are doing your asana practice, make sure, tell your mind that you love it. Not, hey, another day I have to spend time doing yoga. Love it. Love your meditation practice. Love your asana practice. So the one who transcends all forms of sorrow is an embodiment of everlasting joy. And it resides in the cave of one's own heart. This is the divine in us. The divine in us, the Atma, or self, or that light, there's no sorrow in there. There's no blemish in there. It's said in our scriptures that the luster of the Atma is brighter than the sun, brighter than the moon. That is common to all the spiritual traditions. The yoga tradition describes meditation on this light, jyoti, in a very detailed and methodical manner. In fact, first you imagine it. That's why it's called Manasa Puja. With your mind, you just go into the heart center and look at those 8 petaled, beautiful lotus. And you feel the joy which is emanating from that beautiful lotus. Each petal is lit by an eternal flame. And at the center burns the main flame that represents the transcendental being. Whether you want to visualize in the form of a Shiva, or whether you want to just look at it as a light. So this sutra confirms that meditation at the heart center is one of the surest way of activating a one-pointed mind. Okay, so 2 things Rishi Patanjali is telling in this one. Make your mind worryless. Sorrowful mind cannot see this. And the second thing he says, experience this directly inside you. Outer images, they help, but ultimately we have to experience it within us. This is what he's telling. And he says, once you do it, with the help of the practice, you are on the path, on this beautiful path. But if this does not work for some people, this, if not do this, so many different choices, but ultimately practice we must do. He is not going to practice for us. So in verse number 37, he says, vitaragavishayan chittam. Vit means away from, devoid of. Rag means attachment, preoccupation. Vishya means objects. So together when we look at vitaragavishayan, one whose mind is not preoccupied or colored by preconceived notions and prejudices. Or you can say that one whose perception is not colored by desire, anger, hatred, greed, and ego. Or you can say a person of undistorted perception. Okay, so vitaragavishayan. Va means again and or chittam, the mind. So stability of mind comes by making it free from attachment, or by meditating on one who is free from attachment. So if somebody's chit is free from it, you just meditate on that chit, you will become free too. So in this verse, he is giving us two ways. That means two different ways you can interpret this verse. The first interpretation is, that really means it's vairagya, non-attachment. Non-attachment will bring the stability to the mind, vitaragavishayan. So cultivating a state of desirelessness eliminates all the causes of distractions and disturbance. If you are sitting and meditating, what really disturbs us? Why does our mind go somewhere else? We tell our mind to stay focused internally or on the form of God, but it goes somewhere else. Either we are attracted to it, rag, or we are averse by it. Somebody said something wrong to us, keep thinking about it. That is a dvesha. So to acquire a calm, tranquil, and one-pointed mind, simply renounce all the desires, at least for that duration of time. Cultivate a mind where you see no disturbance because of loss and gain, success and failure, honor and insult. Rise above those dualities, at least for half an hour a day, and see the effect of it. This is an art which is not possible for most of the people to cultivate, especially when we are living in this world and we have to comply with all its rules and laws. We'll say that this kind of a practice belongs to only the truly renunciates, or a path which has been taken by a yogi, which is a renunciate's path. So that's why Rishi Patanjali, he knew that. So he's giving us a second interpretation also of this sutra. He's saying stability of mind by meditating on someone who's perfectly established in the principle of non-attachment. Chittam. Our chit is not like that. So meditate on that kind of a chit. That's why I often tell you, whenever I am at a difficult crossroad, I always connect my mind with my Guru's mind. From there, I get the answer. And this is what Rishi Patanjali says, do it on a regular basis. You can meditate like that. But this is very hard to do because you need utmost faith also. Utmost faith in the Guru. Without that, it's not possible. But this interpretation is based on the belief that you become what you think. If you constantly think of thieves and thieving, the idea of theft will pervade. If you meditate on the chit or the mind of a person whose chit is soaked in bliss of God, you will experience that. But how do we really have this kind of a faith? Or how do we find a person who is blessed with this kind of a attribute, whose chit is completely clean? How do we know that? It requires an unshakable faith in that person. That's why if you have found a yogi guru, consider yourself very fortunate. Connect with that chitta, at least during the meditation. It's almost like an unalloyed faith we need to develop. That's why the masters, they prescribe this practice only for insightful students, not for everybody. A student who has the ability to discern, who is truly established in non-attachment. So if we are not attached to the outside, only then we can attach our mind to the Guru. And if we are fortunate enough to have that Guru, then we got to just 100% faith, not 99% of faith. This is what Rishi Patanjali is telling us. So stability of mind comes by making it free from attachment. If you can do it yourself, fine. Or by meditating on one who is free from attachment. Very clear. So whichever works for you. But detachment is made. So detaching from the world and attaching to God. This is what we are trying to do. If this doesn't work, or it's not suitable to your personality, he says in verse number 38, svapnanidrajnanalambanan. Swapan means dream, nidra means sleep. Gyan, the knowledge, experience. Alamban, object of focus, that's alamban, or ground for resting. Va means or. He says by meditating on the experience of dream or sleep, you can gain stability of mind. We know that when we dream, the mind turns inward. In our Jagrata Avastha, in the waking state, mind is turned outward. But when we are sleeping, it just turns inward. That's why it's no longer distracted by the activity of the conscious mind in sleep and dream. So in other words, the dreaming and the sleeping states are more subtle than the waking state. During the waking state, the conscious mind, only the part of the mind that works in collaboration with the brain, nervous system, and senses is active. In modern psychology, this conscious mind is equivalent to the concept of a lower mind, or the man in yoga. So in the waking state, man is able to perceive the objects of the world with the help of the 5 cognitive senses: hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, and seeing. But the range of its function is limited. No matter how good our eyes are or how good our hearing is, still there's a limit to it. So in other words, the mind can perceive, judge, decide, although quite often its perception is, or its judgments or the decisions are accompanied by doubt. Did I see it right? Did I hear it right? Only the intuitive knowledge flowing from deep within the center of consciousness helps the mind to transcend its doubt. So that means we got to heighten that part of our personality. But many of us do not have complete access to the field of intuition. We have not worked on it. But during dreaming and deep sleep, the mind is turned inward. The activities of our senses are shut down. And the function of the brain and nervous system is at its lowest. So the conscious mind, the man, is almost completely at rest during dreaming and deep sleep. And the unconscious mind, which works without the aid of the brain, nervous system, and sense organs, that becomes active. So this is when we begin to experience a vast universe, which is comprised of bottomless memories. Experiences gained while we are dreaming and sleeping are closer to the inner reality than those gained from the external world, because they are coming from within, without the interference of the senses, and are not contaminated by doubt. But the question is, how do we remember the content of our dreams clearly upon waking? We forget. We all dream, but we forget. And more important than that is that how do we know which dreams are useful for meditation and which are not? How do we discriminate? The clearest and the most systematic answer can be found in the Vedic literature. Our yogi gurus, they say, learn the art of keeping your mind as uncluttered as possible while you are awake. The simpler the life you live, the lighter the meals you eat, the more regular the routine you maintain, clearer the mind. So in other words, we don't practice yoga only for half an hour. We practice yoga 24/7. I remember one time I was sitting in the ashram. Somebody asked my Guruji, new person who came over there, when do you do yoga? His simple answer was, tell me when I don't do yoga. So that means we are supposed to do yoga 24/7. We just don't, these days we don't understand what yoga is. We think just only few asanas are yoga. We got to make sure that we live a life which is simple. The food we eat, the liquids we take, and how regular our routine is. Are we following that or not? So in other words, a balanced lifestyle helps you balance your body and the mind, or whatever is happening inside there. More balanced our body and mind, easier it is for the mind to send its impulses to the nervous system through the nadis. We have countless nadis inside us, and impulses are flowing through it. This creates an internal environment which is conducive to linear, less choppy dreams. And those dreams which will make a strong impression on the entire mind field. And this includes the conscious mind also. That's how we remember our dream more clearly when we wake up. The question is how we know which dreams are useful for meditation and which are not. That really requires a basic understanding of the spiritual dimension of dreams. There is a clear distinction between spiritual dreams and dreams that are simply expressions of our unfulfilled desires, emotions, thoughts, feelings, and disorganized memories. Take control of your dreams also. They are your dreams, not somebody else's. Let me tell you, a spiritual dream is very clear. When you awaken, you remember it with a great sense of joy. No fear, no confusion, only the clarity. Deep within, you know that it was real and you do not feel the slightest need to verify it. You don't have to open the books. Maybe sometimes you need to call your guru, but you don't have to open the books. In fact, the power of this kind of a dream can purify the conduit, the entire mind field. It flows through it, and you wake up with a greater degree of clarity of your mind. In fact, even the purity of your heart. So the simple memory of that dream makes your mind one-pointed. Just think about that dream and turns it inward. Long time ago, let me share this, my personal little story with you. Long time ago, I think it was almost 31 years ago, when this ashram was inaugurated. I dreamt that there is a little hut, beautiful little hut, and my Guruji was sitting there on a kush mat, and I'm just sitting at his feet, and he was teaching. Even now, after 3 decades, when I think of that dream, that how beautiful that dream was, how clearly I could see that the light in him and the light in me, they were merging. So that calms my mind, that clarifies everything. So I'm sure you might have had dreams like that. Use those dreams to further progress yourself. Don't expect that these dreams should come again and again. Once in a lifetime is enough. Use that experience. This is what Rishi Patanjali is saying. The simple memory of that dream makes your mind one-pointed and turns it inward. Outside, everything looks pale compared to that. Even if you do not make an active effort to meditate on such a dream object, still a state of spontaneous meditation emerges. That is the power of these dreams. Sometimes in some people, the spiritual dreams may not be strong enough to course through their mind field without some degree of dissipation. That is why when you have such a dream, you often wonder what it was, or whether or not it was exactly as you remember it, because it was not strong enough. So that's why to use these dreams, we have to live a life which is a yogic way of living. If this doesn't work, look at the broad-mindedness of this great Rishi. In verse number 39, every time I read this, a smile comes on my face. Look at that. What a great culture we belong to. Yathabhimatadhyanad. Yatha means accordingly. Abhimat. Abhi means in every direction, all around. Mat means opinion, or choice, or understanding. So abhimat, together it means that well thought out, well meditated, properly understood object of one's choice. Dhyanat, by meditation. Va means and or. So by meditating on any object of one's choice, one attains a steadiness of mind. A meditative object verified by the adepts or one revered in your spiritual tradition steadies the mind and draws it inward. Because abhimat word is a key word in this particular sutra, abhimat. There are two ways we can look at it. But on the surface, he is giving us another option of our choice. Because the style of the writing of the sutra is that you do not spend even half a syllable unless it's absolutely required to convey the message. And over here, Rishi Patanjali, master of the masters, is spending a whole sutra telling us that by meditating on any objects of one choice, one attains steadiness of the mind. Must be so important. Common sense tells us that the mind enjoys entertaining objects of its liking and hates to focus on the objects it does not like. So what is really going on here? What is it telling us? So the essence of the practice described in the sutra is hidden in the word abhimata. So ordinarily, the meaning of abhimata is opinions, intent, or the option a person likes. But when we look at the subtler understanding of this Sanskrit word, it means that which is agreed upon or that which is agreeable to the mind. That is the subtle meaning. There are two aspects of this word, bhav artha and parampara artha. From the angle of the bhav artha, that means the feeling-based meaning as opposed to the literal meaning, abhimat refers to the object of meditation that has been unanimously agreed upon by many rishis, aspirants. They continued their meditation on a particular object for a long period of time. That's why in the yogic scriptures, they tell us that we can meditate on any one of the chakras. They know that that light is within us. They say you can meditate on the breath also, the prana. That is abhimata. Because all of them, all the yogis, for thousands and thousands of years, gained a similar experience. And after matching their experiences, they concluded that the particular object was conducive to attaining stability of the mind. Their continuous experiments, they verified the results. And the final outcome is abhimata. Well thought out, well analyzed, leaving no room for any doubt. So the sutra is not saying that you meditate on any object of your preference, because our preference could be not subtle enough. Rather, that you meditate on the object preferred by the experienced yogis, if you wish to gain stability of mind. Abhimata. There are thousands of well thought out meditative objects. You can start out with the outer object, then you can just move your attention inward also. So in other words, it's not a random selection of an object from anywhere or any manner, but rather a wise selection of an authentic object that is described in this sutra. But if you look at this verse from the parampara artha, Abhimat means the meditative object which supersedes all other objects with a particular tradition. For example, if your disposition leads you to find joy in conceiving divinity as a goddess, you are attracted to the image of the goddess. It could be a goddess Durga or Kali or Saraswati. But the question is then, which one is the best object of meditation for you? All of them are equally attractive. Logically, they are equally capable of bringing stability to your mind if you meditate on them. So the particular sutra advising us to identify which tradition you belong to, which particular form of the goddess or any symbol is held in the highest regard in that tradition. So meditation on that object will bring the highest degree of stability to your mind and will have a lasting effect. Okay, so study these sutras again. But it's not only study alone. We have to definitely do what he's telling us to do. He's encouraging us to live a life of a yogi. Eat right, sleep right, take care of this body. It's a temple. Control your mind, clean your mind. Understand the purpose of life. Detach from this world while living in this world and attach to God with the help of meditation. So now we'll see, next week we'll start with verse number 40. What really happens once we meditate? What kind of powers we gain also? So he's going to touch upon that in this chapter. And in future chapters also, in the third chapter, when he talks about Vibhuti Pad, he'll do that. But over here also, we'll see some of the powers. What is the outcome of the real meditation? Let's stop it here and say this Shanti mantra with me. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.